So today's guest is Janelle Ciara. She's a business owner, content creator, and coach currently based in Phuket, Thailand. Janelle did everything right on paper: school, university, worked from 18, landed a well paying job, got a house and a car at 23, and realized it still wasn't the life she wanted. So she quit. She went to Ibiza to pursue DJing and a freelance social media manager, and it didn't go as planned. She came back home, picked herself back up, and within weeks got scouted by a female DJ agency, which led to 7 years of building a DJ career and a social media agency simultaneously. She played in front of 31,000 people. She's built a coaching brand, a podcast, a 6 week business course. And in December 2024, she moved to Thailand and is now opened a salon. She calls herself funemployed, and this conversation is going to show you exactly what that means. Janelle, welcome. I'm really glad to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for that great introduction as well.
Oh, thank you so much. I love to do some research on my guests. And I would say when I was scrolling on Instagram, you popped up even before I had a podcast or a podcast idea. I saw you and how like you were confident in the way you were speaking and you were talking about how you coined the fun employed. The first Instagram post I saw you talking about was just like shoot your shot in the DMs. So I'm like, okay, fine. I'm gonna shoot my shot and talk to Janelle. I'm like, do you want to come on my podcast? And like within minutes, like you immediately responded. You were so kind. And you'd be like, you know what? This is a sign to make this podcast. If I can like with my little 200 follower personal account can reach someone that is so confident and has it what we see on social media together, I want to learn more about her because I know that it's sometimes be comparison or glamorized in social media, but I know this girl has a story. So I'm really happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much. And yes, shoot your shot in the DMs. And this is not about dating, but
Yeah.
the post that I made that post because I was explaining that my whole team that I work with now literally DM'd me and was like, this is what I do. How can I help? And I just think it's an easy way to connect with people. People aren't scary. We're all human.
Hmm.
I've done it. I'm glad that you did it. And I'm glad that you took that as a sign to start the podcast as well, because I do think having these conversations are really important. I think a lot of the time when you see people living a certain life, it does look very polished. And a lot of the time you do ask yourself, well, how did they get there?
Hmm.
And there's not really a backstory, or maybe there is a little bit of a backstory and people talk about it a little bit, but I think these types of conversations, especially a podcast, is where you really get to know someone and you can identify yourself in their story as well, which is something that I always do. I listen to lots of podcasts and I love that because there's a part in their story, everyone's story that I listen to, that I'm like, okay, I've been there, or I understand this, or I felt this.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I think when it comes to like social media, you got 60 seconds to really like display yourself and show your message. But with this kind of podcast platform, you get to have a voice and you get to be fully express and explain more of your story. And this is exactly what I want this podcast to be about. So, let's go into the segment. I like to call it the before segment. So, I want to start at the point where you actually had it, like the good salary, the house, the car at 23, because I think a lot of people are spending their whole 20s actually just working towards exactly that. And you had it. And what was still missing?
For me, I have always like the word freedom is like the base of my life.
Mm.
I don't like to feel trapped at all. So I'm always looking for freedom. Where can I be more free? And like I had the good job. I just moved out of my mum's house. I got a little house to myself. I had a car. I had on paper everything because I went to university and I had the job in the field that I went to university to do. And I really did enjoy it. But for me, I remember putting in a holiday request and it got denied. And I was like, I want to go. Why am I not allowed to go? And then I was like, maybe this is not the life for me, because it's not just about, somebody telling me what to do. It's like, I've seen, and the reason why I wanted to go away is because I've seen a really good deal. It was ridiculous. It was like £100 for a weekend away, and I was like, "I wanna go." And it was specific dates, you couldn't change the dates. So for me, it was just the fact that I didn't feel like I had as much freedom as I wanted.
I see. Yeah, that actually reminds me of a story of like when before I went to university, like my first job, I was a cashier at a grocery store. And I was like this like little part-time job. It's not my career. And before I started university, my parents were going to take us on like basically like a whole road trip around because I'm from Toronto. So we'd start in Toronto and go all the way down Grand Canyon, all the way back up. We'd go back up to British Columbia and travel, and they denied it. And I was like, this is the only time that I will get to experience this. So it really just showed me the trajectory of like, okay, work does not care about like this kind of like experiences. You can't even give me a month off. So I quit. And I just feel like that freedom and that time that I got to spend with my parents and go to all these different places expanded me so much that a job couldn't. And it
Yeah.
almost opened my eyes to be like, okay, maybe I should look out for warning signs when it comes to after university and I'm looking for my job, and it happened again like 10 years later. So it seems like the moment became very clear for both of us where it was that freedom is almost stripped from you when um you find yourself in these positions. So it wasn't like a slow realization over time. It was a very clear sign and you took it.
Yeah, I remember it being October 2018 when I first had the realization, and I quit my job April 2019. So I did 6 months of kind of not saying anything to anybody, but figuring it. I think I took 2 months to figure out what I was going to do to make the escape plan,
Mhm.
and then I spent around 3 months actually, like, really honing in on it whilst being at my job, and then we had to give, like, a month's notice, and they were really shocked, and I explained, because and then what they wanted to do was they then was like, "Okay, we'll up your salary. We'll give you more time off." But by that point, I'd already made the decision that I was like, "Actually, I just want to be free. I just want to go and explore and do everything that I wanna do." So I remember it was like this 6 months period of really just not only the physical work, but the spiritual work that you have to do. I read so many books. This was when I started listening to podcasts, audiobooks, um, kind of looking at my people that inspired me and listen to their stories. I just did a whole 6 months of a lot of inner work, outer work. And then the time it was time to say, "I'm out," I knew I was ready.
That's beautiful. It really shows that the shadow work and the work that you took, not only like physically or mentally, emotionally, but also spiritually, is super
Mm.
important. As a transformational healer myself, I help women kind of bring out that authentic path and their real purpose, right? So that's a really beautiful story. Because I was going to ask you, like, you were in the 6 months, you were like planning this escape plan, right? Or
Mhm.
so, like, when you did leave, did there ever feel a time that you wanted to go back into that, or you knew you were very stable in your decision?
So there's been many points over the years where I have so there's been so many things that have happened and so many opportunities that have come up. So I've never gone back to working 9 to 5, but I have gone and done I've done projects.
Mhm.
So when I first left, I actually went into a project for a month where I was an event manager for a wedding company. So I've done things like that, still all self-employed, but something where it was a little bit more stable. Then COVID hit, and that was because I'd left in April 2019. I went to Ibiza. I had one marketing client and I had no idea how I was going to kind of build this up. So I went to Ibiza. It didn't work out. I didn't get the DJ jobs that I wanted. It was highly competitive, of course. And I wasn't as good as everybody else, I'll be honest, because I was like, okay, I've done it for 3 months, like it's okay. Um, so when I came back in June, and then I'll be honest, I had no money. I had 0 money. So I actually did go back into a job. But I was only there for 3 weeks. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And I'm not silly enough to just kind of just think, okay, how my bills gonna get paid. So I did go back for 3 weeks, and the 3 weeks I was there, I was just like, "I absolutely hate this." I went back to some it was only like an agency kind of thing, but I was like, "This is not it." So I was really happy when I got scouted by the agency because I was like, that dip back in just showed me I'm never going back there again.
Yes, yes. So you got the temp job and it lasted 3 or 4 weeks, and then you got scouted by this like female DJ agency. And how did that happen?
So this was social media. I've always been on Instagram. Literally, when Instagram came out, I've had the exact same account. I've never changed my account. So I've had the same account since like 2013. And at this time, this was 2019. I mean, content creation was a thing, but not as we know it now. Instagram, what I don't think there was even Reels. I think you could put up videos, but there definitely wasn't Reels back in 2019. So I put up a few photos, and this is something that is a hack that I still use now, and I was using very specific hashtags. So rather than putting like hashtag DJ, hashtag like Nottingham where I'm from, I used to put in Nottingham female DJ all as one hashtag, which actually helps people to find you. So they found me using through the hashtag. They were looking for a DJ in Nottingham. They found me on Instagram and they actually had a regular DJ gig for a makeup brand called Morphe. So this DJ agency was for women, but it wasn't clubs and bars, which I only thought that DJs were just in clubs and bars. I never knew that they were in store and they did campaigns and fashion shows and that kind of thing. So this was for an in-store role every Saturday, which paid me the same amount as what I was making all week at the temp job, which was amazing. And there wasn't just me, there was another girl who both went for it. So as soon as this came, I quit that job and I was like, I'm out, I'm over it. I'm going to use all the manifestation tools that I know to manifest this job. Like, I really want it. I did an amazing mix. And when I tell you, I was obsessed with getting this. I was like, this is the sign, this is it. And I didn't get it.
Oh, wow. Hmm.
I didn't actually get it. So then I was like, oh my God, like I've quit the job again. And like it hasn't, and I was so confused. And I did everything that these manifestation, like self-development development books tell you to do. And I didn't get it. And the other girl got it, and I was like, wow, I actually can't believe it. However, they did have another DJ job. So which was just a one-off for Skechers. So I went and DJ'd for Skechers. And then within 2 weeks, the other girl decided actually she didn't want to do it anymore, and then the job came back to me. But this for me was a really powerful lesson when it comes to like manifestation and self-belief. I was too obsessed with it. I was like this was my grip on it. And I think sometimes when you're like, you're dead certain, like this is the way it's gonna go and this has to happen this way, you'll be so disheartened. And then when it come back around, I was like, okay, it was always meant for me. It was always coming for me, but it just didn't happen in the way that I thought it would. And that taught me a big lesson, which I've took now throughout my life for the past 7 years, that you can get what you want and you will get there. Just loosen the grip.
Exactly. Yeah. It also shows you that you never gave up. When you lost that position, you still went and took the Skechers position. Like,
Mhm.
and you knew that if maybe you were to go back, you wouldn't have gotten that opportunity. They would have looked for somebody else, right? To fill in for that other girl. And it teaches you, yeah, exactly. As soon as you kind of let go of your grip, it's almost like the more you hold sand, the more it's going to
Mhm.
escape you. You know, the more you open cup your hand, it will stay there. So it really just shows like once you loosen that, let it kind of divinely work out on its own,
Okay.
but not totally give up, right? You didn't take those manifestation, didn't work and you gave up. That's not the lesson in manifesting. Manifesting is actually embodying the person that is able to like hold that capacity.
And I also became Skechers official DJ, so it worked out amazing because then that first sketches, they absolutely loved me, which I wouldn't have had the opportunity if it had worked out the way that I thought it would. So yeah, so from there, I was DJing, I was making more money than my 9 to 5. I literally worked a maximum 4 times in a month. Usually I just worked 2 to 3 times a month, which was crazy. So then I had all the freedom
Mm-hmm.
possible, which is what I wanted. But sometimes when you have all the freedom, you then are like, well, what do I do now?
Mm-hmm. And what did you do with that freedom?
Lots of things. Lots of things actually. So many different side quests over the years. I spent more time on my marketing business, so I was doing both at the same time. I don't personally believe that anybody can survive in this economy with just one income. I think that even if you don't have multiple at the moment, you should be open to having it doesn't have to be like big companies. It can just be, maybe you like me, I was a DJ, but then I also know how to do social media marketing. So it was just like I had like one client at the time, then I was building more and more. And yeah, along the way, so many side quests. I did a post about this the other day, but COVID happened and the DJ stopped. Kind of. So physical DJing stopped, and I was like, okay, I've quit this job. Exactly a year later to me quitting the job, COVID happened. So I'm like, what do I do now? But I still DJ'd online. Like everything,
Mm-hmm.
we were all online, right? Zoom became a thing. I DJ'd online. My marketing clients were still, wanting to do things online, which worked out really well because social media then became rife. TikTok then became a thing. Um, and during that time, I did some community work. So I wanted to really like, I couldn't, get out of Nottingham. So I put a lot of time into some community projects, which was really cool.
That's really cool. Yeah. It also shows you like when COVID happened, that's when social media really blew up and it got people really creative because they also had a lot of time on their hands too.
Yeah.
So that's when you really see that people are starting to learn that it's to be a well-equipped like business owner or somebody that is living for themselves and living like a self-employed life. It's really interesting to be open to different opportunities, right? And not just be stuck in one lane. Now, I do want to go back because you mentioned that the first time around, when you packed up all your stuff and went to Ibiza and it didn't work out and you came back, and you said that you just didn't feel like as good. Like you didn't feel there's like better DJs. So then when you went back home and you got scouted, what made you like that confidence to be like, okay, I got it this time?
So I think I suffered a lot of imposter syndrome because
Mm,
I genuinely I had my first DJ lesson like 3 days before Christmas, December 2018. And then by the time I actually landed in Ibiza, it had literally been like 3 months of intensive DJ lessons. But of course, DJing comes with time. It comes to playing to crowds. That's the point. So I think I had a lot of imposter syndrome because there were DJs that had been, even if they were the same age as me, they've been DJing for like 7 years already.
mm-hmm,
So I had a lot of imposter syndrome. And I'll be honest, DJing has been something where I've always felt the most imposter syndrome within being a DJ. Even now, I don't really DJ anymore, but I still have like a thing of, am I actually good enough? Like, am I okay? But when I came back, I think as much as we don't like to put our value externally and get this external validation, I do think being scouted from the agency did give me the confidence boost that I needed. And I was like, actually, well, maybe I am okay. Maybe I'm good at this. And then yeah, I think it came over time. But anything new that you do, you obviously it's not even imposter syndrome. You're just a beginner. That's what I realized. I think we use the word imposter syndrome so much, but you're not an imposter. You just never done this before. So how are
mm-hmm.
you meant to feel? You're going to feel like a beginner, and the confidence comes over time. You don't start anything with confidence. It builds up the more that you do the thing.
It's so true. I think the only difference between somebody that like two DJs is who started first, right? Because
Mhm.
the more experience you gain, the more practice you give yourself, the more confident you are in your work. That's kind of like imposter syndrome, right? Is you
Yeah,
just haven't started yet. And
exactly.
in the intake form, I always like to ask that question, like, when was the pivot? When did it all like switch for you? And you mentioned, like, I think it was just two words. You said a breakup. The breakup was your turning point. So, what does a relationship ending lead you to quitting your job and becoming a DJ? And what was the exact connection there? Was that like correct? Is that when it was the turning point?
No,
Okay.
there was another. So there's been a few pivots in my life. The first one was when I was 23, and that was when I quit my job, become a DJ, etc. Then the second pivot happened at 29. So that was in 2024. So for 7 years I was a DJ. I ran a social media agency. Now it's an agency. Before it was just myself. I was a freelance social media manager. So I did this and all of my other side quests. In 2023, I decided to come to Thailand the first time and pursue being a digital nomad again. So I came here 2023, but just before I came here, I started to date somebody. So we did like a long distance dating for 3 months, and then I wanted to pursue it further. So I went back home and I was in a relationship, and that relationship broke down like December 24, and we were meant to be going away to Thailand again. We were meant to be going on holiday for Christmas. And again, that was another pivotal point. And I think there's so many stories that begin with a breakup.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the reason being is because it's now you're starting over again. It's you by yourself. It kind of gives you a fresh start. It gives you time to reinvent yourself. Because another thing, when you are in a relationship, I think that you become merged with that person. Sometimes you can lose sight of who you are, the things that you like, and it's time to really rediscover yourself. So because that relationship broke down, I still went away for Christmas. I came back to Thailand and then I pretty much never left. So that was the point when I decided that I will move here. So there was two pivotal points in my life that really changed the trajectory of my life, because if I didn't have that breakup, I didn't move to Thailand, I wouldn't become a content creator, I would have never opened a salon. There's so many things that happen. And in that moment, when you go for a breakup, everybody's been there and you're like, why? Why is this happening? Everything was so good. And of course, you're not going to see the reason why until a year down the line.
A lot of women can relate. Sometimes a pivotal moment can be a breakup. Even for myself, it was a divorce. I got married at 19 and then I got divorced at 24. And right after that, I went on this whole self discovery journey of being like, what is my purpose outside of being married? I was married at such a young age. I don't even know myself. How do you know yourself at 19? Now I'm 24 and I'm just trying to figure it out. So I had a whole spiritual awakening. I worked with a spiritual coach, unlocked like all of my intuitive gifts that were kind of pushed aside and neglected for so long. Like all of those like gut feelings that you get when you're in this relationship and you're like, no, because kind of love kind of blinds you, right? In a lot of ways, or whatever love was at 19. And so, yeah, that does make a lot of sense. I do want to ask, so you traveled to Thailand a couple times before deciding this is where I want to stay. Why
Yeah.
Thailand?
I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know. What I do know is again, 2018 or 2017. I remember creating my vision board. I create a vision board every year. I've done it for years. And there was this picture on Pinterest, and I didn't even know where it was. It was just beautiful. It was the most blue, clear water, like mountains in the background. And then I realized it was Thailand. And I was like, I put it on my vision board, and it was just on my vision board for years. And my plan actually was to go to Ibiza for the summer in 2019. And then I was always meant to go to Thailand. And it just never happened for all these years. And then when I got, because I flew into Phuket as well. So I didn't fly to Bangkok. A lot of people fly to Bangkok. I just flew directly into Phuket in 2023. And as soon as I got here, I was like, this is it. This is home. And I don't know why. And I don't think anybody really that's moved country to another country that feels like home can explain why. The spiritual side of it is astrocartography, which I didn't know that was a thing. That is depending on your birth chart. It tells you where you should live. So when I
Hmm.
did this, like 5 months after being here, after living here, my moon goes directly through Phuket, and your moon is
Wow.
hope. So yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I only asked this because my father was born in Laos and he went during like the refugee time and then they fled to Thailand. I think it was Laos, Thailand, like that province. And they stayed there for 3 years before moving to Canada. And then he met my mom and all that. But he has traveled back to Thailand with my mom. They retired at a young age. She was a nurse, like he was a welder, worked very hard so that they can retire and they're only in their 50s. And for every year during their horrible Canadian winters, they go and they live in Thailand and they go to all different kinds of provinces.
Mhm.
And I always felt so left behind because I'm stuck here with my 9 to 5 job working as a hearing specialist. And I'm like, this is not it. So when I unexpectedly got fired from my job in this last December, I'm like, I'm taking this as an opportunity to start something for myself so that I can tag along to Thailand because I've never been. And I think that's so important to kind of go back to like a place that like kept all of my father's like sisters and brothers and family safe for those 3 years before they came to Canada.
Yeah.
And then
Big
it's
stuff.
also, yeah, it's also interesting that all of this kind of happened to you when you were 29 because that's like your Saturn return, and your Saturn return's all about that, right?
Yes, again, like this is why it's not something that I really put on social media. I don't really like talk about my spirituality, but I am somebody who I'm very spiritual in a sense of I believe everything. Astrology, numerology, manifest, and everything possible, I believe it. And yeah, the Saturn return for me was really about my values and it was about me. That's it. My Libra's in my first house. And yeah, it was the whole Saturn return was figuring out who I am. I had to go through the breakup. I had to just be alone. And I think there's a lot of times on our path where we have to spend time alone. I'm somebody who is very social. I love to be in the mix. I love to be around friends. And there's been a few times in my life, there's been three times actually. There was the one in 2018, there was one in 2022, which again, I was 27. That's a very pivotal point. And then at 29, where I spent a lot of time by myself to go inwards and figure out what do I want to do? Um, and also a lot of shadow work because the thing is, we can have these huge ambitions, but we have to really understand what are the things that are going to hold us back? What are our limiting beliefs? How do we actually get to that next level? Because with all of the goals and, quitting your job, going through a divorce, going through a breakup, all of these things have such a huge impact. And in order to get to the next level, we have to shed these versions of ourselves. So we really have to sit with ourselves and, yeah,
Yeah.
go through the messy layers and the
Hmm.
uncomfortable parts. But when you get through that, you get to go to the next level. But it just means that every time you get to the next level, you have to get through that, which I thought it was a spiritual awakening. Yeah, I'm good. No, babes, this is every month.
It's every month because you're quantum shifting like every single time that you ask for more, the universe is going to give you that and you have to be able to be like, all right, I'm given this task and there's a responsibility that comes with it. The universe will never give you over like too much. So if you're asking for it, you better be prepared for it because that means that they trust you with that duty as well. And
Mhm.
it's really important to show people that you have to do the shadow work. You have to go and do that inner work because if you don't, those limiting beliefs will show up. Those fears,
Yeah,
those what did you say? Imposter syndrome will come up and it can kind of stunt you or stop you or make you feel very like almost wanting to retreat because it's very
yeah,
uncomfortable,
yeah.
right?
I was coaching women last year, and one of the biggest things, so I was teaching women how to build an online business that has nothing really to do with personal, what you think. It's about the skills that you need to build an online business. The biggest issues that those women faced was confidence. It
Mm-hmm.
was they had the skills, they were actually better than some people that I've worked with as freelancers, and they were just beginning. It was confidence. It was the limiting belief of, I'm not good enough. Why me? Who do I think I am? Why would anybody want to hire me? Men don't have this. They don't. They will, it's been studied. They will apply for jobs that they are underqualified for, whereas women won't apply for jobs that they are overly qualified for. So it's a lot of the inner work. If you want to quit your job, if you want to leave the 9 to 5, if you want to be self-employed, you need to do the inner work because you have to actually ask for money, you have to ask for clients, and these are
Yeah.
big things that women suffer with. Like, even now, I'm like, is it okay if you pay me for the work that I've done?
Hmm. We have to be available and open to receiving, which is all about the feminine energy and the feminine power. And yeah, I like me running my own business, like my spiritual business, right? The ego will show up being like, is it okay to raise my prices? And it's like, girl, you put all of that training and that effort. You like, it's almost like your higher self kind of comes up and it's like, give you that confidence. You've worked through this. Even when you
Yeah.
work through it, it will come up. There's different layers to it too, right? So yeah, that's such a like an amazing message to bring across to this podcast here. Now, let's switch into like right now, the reality of it. You know, Thailand, the salon, your multiple businesses. So right now you're in Thailand, you've just opened up your salon and you're
Mm.
running multiple businesses at the same time. Walk me through what that looks like in a week, let's say.
Okay. So just to give you a bit of a basis of what has happened. So I came back to Thailand in January. I had this idea to open a salon because I'll be honest, I went to so many different salons whilst being here, and I was like, I just can't find, I just can't find the British standard of what I want. Okay. So I had this idea and I found my business partner by creating content for her. So this idea just came out of the blue, and I was like, okay, let's do it. And I spent the past 4 months doing this. I also was DJing in Thailand when I first got back here, and I was presenting on radio. Then I was also running my marketing agency, and I do content. Now, I'll be honest, as an ADHD girly, I do think I can do it all, but then I was like, okay, something has to go because I do actually just need to focus. So right now I'm running the salon that had some setbacks. Um, yeah, that had a few setbacks. We opened way later than what we were actually meant to, like by like 3 weeks or something, which was fine. So in a typical week, I'll be honest, as much as I love being fun employed, I do spend at least 2 days of the week where I sit for 8 hours and just work on my laptop. 2 to 3 days a week, I do that. Then, like today, I'm going to go down to the salon. I'm going to go create content. Today, I'm also creating content for another brand. But I do have a team now, which is great. I recently hired a PA and I have an operations manager for my marketing business. I do multiple things in a day. I don't really have a schedule. I just do lots of different things in a day, which for somebody who is type A and very organized would send them into a spiral. But for me, I love a dopamine hit. So yeah, there's not really, I can't really give you a typical week because there's no such thing in my life as a typical week. But I do lots of the things that I enjoy. Um, yeah, I do lots of the things that I enjoy, and the tasks that I know that I need to focus on, I'll do on days that I don't feel like doing anything, if that makes sense. So the days I stay in my house, I'll do lots of admin work. And the days where I'm like, you know what, I've done my hair today, let me get out of the house.
Yes, yeah. Me as a type A person, I'm like, no schedule. Like, how do you get this all done? But like, you're getting it done and you're doing it in a way where when you're feeling most creative, you're going to go and create your work, right? And that is something that I have to learn to kind of like release because if I give myself the schedule, I'm going to be creating something that doesn't feel natural. And that's what I've kind of learned is like, you're not going to show up authentically, right?
Yeah, I used to plan my weeks and I'd be like to the hour.
Mm-hmm.
So I found this method where you use your Google Calendar and every single, like you do your day from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed. it never worked for me.
Mm.
It could work, but then something would pop up, or I like to have a bit of a schedule. But what I usually do is these are the tasks that I need to do for the week, and then yeah, when I feel most creative, because sometimes I don't feel like yesterday, I was in my PJs all day. I didn't want to leave the house. I didn't want to create any content. Whereas today, I'm like, okay, today's content day because I know that I want to get up, I want to get dressed, and I think if you schedule your time like this, especially when you do run multiple businesses or have multiple things going on, it makes it a lot more enjoyable.
As you have a reel you actually posted about how the lifestyle is different in Thailand. It's slower. It's not like that was like your biggest shift. It was like the biggest thing I learned about living in Thailand is that there's slower pace, right?
Mhm.
So, what is something about living in Thailand that has also genuinely surprised you that nobody else talks about?
The slower pace is a big one. I live on an island, so it's probably a little bit different to living in Bangkok because I do live in Phuket. The slower pace of life definitely is a big thing. But now running a business in Thailand is that they are completely different to the Western world. And as a person, but also as a manager, I like things like this. Let's go, let's go, let's go. So one thing that you have to realize is not only is the reason it's a slower pace of life is because Thai people are very sabai sabai, sabai sabai, just relax and chill. And yeah, that's something that you have to get used to, especially when you're coming from the Western world where we rush to get to work and we rush to eat our lunch and we rush to get home and we rush everything. It's actually taking some time to actually just relax. But it's great because you realize that all of that stressing and rushing doesn't mean anything anyway, because it will happen when it happens.
Exactly, exactly. Another really posted was like you mentioned that when it comes to building a business in Thailand, Thailand are very much about their people, right? So 51% of your salon is owned by a Thai person. What's opening a business in a different country like practically? I mentioned that 51% that has to be owned by a Thai person because I feel like a lot of people romanticize like, oh, going to a different country and building a business, but no, there's a lot of practicalities that come with it.
There is. I think I've chose the hardest place to open a business. I went to Dubai in October last year and opened a business there. It was so easy. My visa took about a month, and that was it. My business is open. I have a bank account. I have everything that I need. That's it. It's so easy. And then coming to Thailand was completely different. So yeah, it has to be 51% Thai owned, which I love for them because it also means that you can't just come to Thailand and just, open businesses and ruin their infrastructure and, kind of take over. But it's really difficult. The process has not been simple, but it's been a great learning curve. And I do think that I would love to open more businesses here now that I'm here. But
Mm-hmm.
Thai people are amazing. My business partner's amazing. She really helped me with the whole process because another thing with Thailand is not a lot of Thai people speak English. So when you go to, like, example, Spain, or you go to other places in the world, it's natural for them to speak English. They learn English in school, whereas Thailand, they're like, no, actually, we don't want to learn English, which is great. They it's not here, it's not you have to learn English. They're cool with not learning English. And what that means is for me, I also need to learn Thai, which of course, being in a different country, you want to learn the language. But I think when I lived in Spain, everybody spoke English. I didn't need to. So it kind of opens you up to being like, okay, I need to integrate into the culture. I want to be a part of this society. And in order to do that, I need to really, yeah, bring myself to be a part of it. And for me, Thailand's done so much for me that I would love to give back in any way. So we're currently running a program with a school where there's a girl who's 15 and she wants to learn nails. So she's going to come in on a Saturday, she's going to learn nails. And I'd love to do like more programs to help Thai people to be able to, yeah, like work in their dreams or like work with young people to help them or just to show them, these are things that are possible.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Like you're there to like show them and give them that because of what you've built, right? And getting to like almost have those girls fulfill their dreams at such a young age and being able to like do that is so amazing. So before we move on, You've mentioned your businesses, you mentioned your coaching. Tell people what you have going on right now on top of that and where they can find you. So, I will have all of your links in the show notes, but if you wanted to kind of share more about that with the audience.
Yeah, I did take a break from coaching last year just to build what I'm building now. But I am building something called the Funemployed Academy. This will be courses that I taught one-to-one last year that are now going to be available to everybody. I have a few different courses. One of them is Master Your Own Social Media. So this is a course where if you're somebody who has a small online business or you want to create a personal brand, this really goes into each platform, how they work, how you can get the most from it, how to create content, how to figure out your niche. Um, and then I also have another course, which is how to build an online business. Um, and then a third course, which is how to become a social media manager. So there's three courses that are going to be available, which you can do in your own time. And each one will help you to build this online presence or online career, which hopefully will then lead you to leaving a job that you don't like or just having a second source of income alongside the job that you're already working.
Wow, that's amazing. You used all of your experiences. At the beginning, you said you've had one Instagram account this whole time, and you've
Mm,
like taken all those experiences. You're well equipped, and now you're able to transform those into courses for people to easily and tangibly learn from you. And everything is linked in the show notes. And if you've been sitting on a business idea with no idea where to start, these courses are worth looking at. So before we
mm.
wrap up here, I want to move on to our last segment here. 7 years of doing this your way. Who is Janelle now that couldn't have existed at the life of 23?
Resilience
Mm.
is the biggest word that I associate with this journey. The woman that I am now, like, it actually makes me emotional because this is the woman that I wanted to be when I was 23. 7 years, I'm now 30. Um, I actually want to be married, and I'm not married yet, but which is so funny because I base my whole thing around being like married by this
Me
age.
too.
Anyway,
Mm.
the woman, the woman that I am now is literally living the dream life of the girl who was 23, sat actually making me really emotional, sat in that 9 to 5. And I'm just somebody who has the freedom. I have amazing friendships, I have amazing relationships, and I have a lot of self-confidence and self-belief because of the experiences that I've had, the businesses, also the failures, the losses, the times when I didn't think I was going to make it through, the times that I wanted to quit have just brought me to the woman that I am today, who is able to take on challenges, is able to solve problems, is able to not spiral when one thing doesn't go the way that I wanted it to. And I just think that now at the age of 30, I'm now using this to become the woman that I want to be at 40. And I've just have this tunnel vision of this is this is who I'm going to be. It might not happen the way that I want it to, but I know that the end goal has always been the same. And it might be delayed. It might not, you know, I've got a thing I've got a series called Millionaire by 35, and that's the plan. And I'm sure I'll get there, but even if it's delayed and I'm 37 by the time it happens, I know that the journey and the lessons that I learn along the way will be more important than actually hitting the million mark.
That's beautiful. You see, like when you were like 23 and you had the car and the house, like you had all the external home, but it shows you like the most important home is yourself, the inside,
Yeah.
that pillar never shakes, right? No matter what happens, the experiences, the failures, you're still Janelle. Like you're still going to add on and learn from it. And sometimes, like, the biggest lessons are learned alone, right? So
Yes.
that's beautiful. Yeah. Resilience, confidence, just from like learning from your experience. And this fun employed tagline that you keep mentioning, where did this actually come from? And what does it mean beyond the surface?
So Funemployed came around because realistically, so I'm self-employed, but unemployed. And I also think I'm a little bit unemployable because I really struggle to be employed. Fun employed was just me showing the life of what I do as somebody who doesn't have a job, doesn't have a boss, doesn't have anybody to report back to. And it was just a real fun spin of showing like the whimsical things that I get up to. That series really just highlights like the whimsical side of my life. And I don't put anything heavy into it. I don't really put like, I've spent 8 hours at my laptop. This is the days when I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go and do a 2 hour massage because I can, or I'm just gonna go to this, night market, or I'm gonna go to this amazing restaurant, or I might take myself away for a weekend. So it's just showing like the fun side of the life that I live.
I love it. It's like the whimsy, like the Lulu side that you just get to be a girl. I think that's the reframe people need is fun employed isn't about not working. It's about who you're working for, which is yourself. And that changes everything about how it feels. So, one
Definitely.
last question here before I let you go. What do you want to say to the person who has the job, the salary, the stability, but still feels like it's not for them and they just can't name it?
Quit your job. No, no,
Yeah, I know.
figure out what one thing is that you will enjoy that you can do every day. Don't think about money. Don't think about how you're going to make $1 million off it. Don't think about how you're going to get signed or anything. As an example, if you want to be a content creator and you're seeing like all of these amazing content creators and you'd love to be a full-time content creator, just create a video today. Just do a small step. Don't let it overwhelm you because you will get analysis paralysis. Like you will just be, this is too much. Do something and just do something that you really enjoy. The money will come along, the opportunities will come along. But the first thing that you need to do is just enjoy it, enjoy the process, and literally start today. Like as soon as you hear this podcast, as soon as you finish this podcast, do one thing, one small thing that is going to help you to take you on the path to quitting your job, etc. But just today, what's the smallest step that you can take and just do that every single day?
Yeah, it's like plant that seed and just keep watering it and showing up to it consistently. That's some beautiful advice. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much, Janelle, for coming on the podcast today and sharing all of your wisdom, all of your experiences, getting vulnerable and sharing the truth behind yourself. And
Thank
yeah.
you so much. Also, thank you for giving us a little bit of an insight into your story as well, and giving me the opportunity to come on and share my story. I think there are so many women that need podcasts like this to listen to, especially when you are feeling like you're getting to that pivotal moment where you want to quit your job, you want to escape, you want the freedom. This podcast is something that I would have listened to at that point. So I know this podcast is going to help so many women out there to make that change. So thank you so much for putting together this podcast. And I really look forward to listening to more episodes.
Oh, that's such a big compliment, especially coming from you. Please follow Janelle because she posts like almost every day consistently, and I'm literally like her biggest fan. I follow everything that she says. You can see it all throughout this whole podcast. You're just such a true inspiration, and I can't wait till your courses come out because you get to learn from somebody that has all of the experiences, and you can see that she's done the work as well. So it's someone you can trust. It's a reliable source. I have all of her links below in the show notes. Please give her a follow and continue to watch the podcast and leave a review. I think that would be beautiful. So, and I'm hoping that we can collab in the future too. I do want to come to Thailand this year or January 2027 and live there for a little bit and kind of travel. Maybe a little solo trip as well would be nice. So, fingers crossed. Yeah, like this podcast I'm just starting it. I'm literally using the advice that you said. I don't know what opportunities are out there yet, and I'm open to opportunities. And I feel like as a woman and, slowly going into my 30s as well, I'm learning that like a lot of opportunities are going to present themselves and you can be diligent and, you don't have to choose everything and make yourself feel like you need this. They also need you as well. So honor yourself and honor your gifts. Thank you guys so much for listening. Janelle is a prime example of why I made this podcast. She's a living example of someone who has trusted the process and have learned the lessons from it. What I keep coming back to is that her path wasn't a straight line. It wasn't one clean decision. It was 7 years of showing up for something when there was every reason not to. And I think that's the version of the story that people actually need to see more of, is not the overnight pivot, but the 7 years of building and all of the stories that came from it. Ibiza didn't work out, her temp job that she went back to, and then the scouting that came right when she needed it, and all the stories along the way. Her recent move to Thailand because she decided she could, and that's what building your own life actually looks like. You can find Janelle on Instagram and TikTok. All of her links are in the show notes, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay unclocked and unbothered.